my partner was diagnosed with dementia, so I moved across after about 12, 15 years of the refugee group. Now we've got this new group. As Carl said, it was only formed 18 months ago or so, and it's inspired by a young woman, Daniela Montero from Chile, who she's Australian, lives here now, but her great-grandmother, her grandmother, they were had dementia, and she's the driving force behind our new group, and we're very small, and you can see on the table there's one piece of paper. Dr. Caitlin Finney is giving talks. She's on our committee. She's a wonderful scientist. But dementia is an umbrella term, like a virus. You know, you've got the viruses, you've got the COVID or the cold, the flu, the shingles, whatever type of virus. Well, dementia, you can have vascular dementia, which is sometimes connected with people who are smokers, but not always. And you've got what my partner has, Alzheimer's, which is the most common form of dementia. Lewy body, which has hallucinations associated with it. That comedian in America had it. What was it? Robin Williams, I think. And there's frontotemporal dementia, the whole range of dementias. So it's just an umbrella term. And the best way that they say, what I've learnt in the 18 months I've been going to these things with these scientists and doctors, the best way to keep healthy, it's like your body, your brain, your heart, cardiac system, is like one big thing I've learned is social, like being here this morning, social interaction, getting out and talking to your neighbours. Some people are loners, they might love their garden or their grandkids or their football panthers or something, but they don't mingle and work the room, or they don't talk to many people. So being here this morning is a very good antidote, or good way to try and avoid dementia. Social interaction. Other things, they say the Mediterranean diet, our healthy diet, fish once or twice a week, lots of fruit and veggies, all the things you do for a healthy diet just for your normal bodily health. Maybe you don't have to, according to the experts, you don't have to avoid anything. Red meat, for example, once or twice a week, all sorts of things. This Caitlin Finney, this young doctor, a scientist, she's really a neurologist or something. She leads a research team at Westmead Research Centre, and there's some chap, he makes chicken. It's not Steggles, some other chicken out here, and he gave them $600,000 for the research because his mother has dementia, and he's putting $6 million into a village for those victims and people suffering from dementia. But yeah, having a healthy diet, exercise, talking to your friends. What else have we got? Poultry, but with dementia, first of all, you've got to remember it's no one's fault. It's not something you're doing wrong or something you're doing right. It's like breast cancer. It's not your fault, or not the woman's fault or the man's fault. But like Caitlin's grandfather was just saying to Vince, Caitlin's grandfather, when he was 96, he was a Croatian man, and all his life he'd smoked, made his home-brewed beer, home-brewed spirits. He cured his own meat. He was a fanatic about red meat. And when he was 96, he was sharp as a tack. So he did all the wrong things, you might say, but didn't, so you can do all. My partner never smoked. She played tennis till middle age, She was a gardener. She was very healthy, fruit and veggie all the time. And she got it, she's got it. And it's 18 months, and some people say it's very fast. You can flip from being your mental faculties, and then in a few days or a few weeks, you can have lost it. My partner's 18 months, and she knows she's forgetting things. Like she's a great cook, baking and making cakes and slices, and without the recipe in front of her now, she's lost. She used to just do it off the top of her head, the name of plants, and she said, I know that name, lobelia or bromeliad or something. And it upsets her because she knows she's aware that she's forgetting things, but it's quite slow. I was talking to a sister, Irene Keogh, a nun in Canberra. She stopped being a nun at 60 to go home and look after her mother. Mother had 10 years of dementia when she was quite okay, manageable, but the last 2 years, years 11 and 12, she was became quite belligerent and quite nasty, and just total character change for the last 2 years. So in some cases it's slow, in some cases very fast. You know, it's the complex of the brain. You know, as I say, my partner forgets this and this and this, but a couple of times lately we came out of the shops and I said, where did I park the car? And I honestly forgot where I parked the car, and she said, straight over there, over there. She knows straight away where we parked the car. So the pathways, the memory pathways are very complex. Certain things you remember, you know, we talk about short-term memory, long-term memory. There's different pathways in the brain. Another good thing to stimulate your brain, I heard a scientist say recently, was they say stop and smell the roses. Well, there's some truth in that. You know, if you stop, if you have one scientist I know, he goes to bed with a bottle of eucalyptus beside his bed. He takes 10 seconds inhaling the eucalyptus, and it could be rosemary, you know, the remembrance herb. They call it that for a reason. Like if you rub the rosemary and the smell, the olfactory section of the brain where the smells go and the fragrances go radiates to the rest of the brain. So it's a good thing to do to stimulate your sense of smell. It can keep the brain pretty active. Yeah, we're as you can see with the flyers on your table, the Blue Mountains Dementia Action Group. There's quite a few, Liverpool, Penrith, Blacktown. There's all sorts of facilities now, and Dementia Australia is a very good resource. I've rung them once early in the piece, and they're volunteers 24/7. They have all the connections and all the networks. That's Dementia Australia. There's dementia doulas. You've probably heard the word doula, but it's people who make a living from going in and helping, and they're experts in this field. Yeah, so there's lots of services. My Age Care, a lot of us have heard about My Age Care. Yesterday it was, I had someone come to the home to sign up my partner for My Age Care. They are very slow and very long. It's a long waiting list, but as we live longer, you know, our life expectancy's increased over the years, and so our brains start to fail us, just like other parts of our body start to, whether it's your knee joints or your hip joints or, you know, your bladder or your brain, you know, they wear out, and so there's age-related memory loss, but then there's the specific one of dementia, you know, and the different types of dementia, which, you know, when you talk, there's lots of Facebook groups, Dementia Australia, Dementia UK, Dementia America, and some of the things that happen in aged care facilities you're probably aware of, people really radically change. Roger was just telling me about his neighbour swore at him one day, and it was totally out of character, and he didn't quite hear her, and she, you know, just started swearing. And in old people's home, people start behaving very strangely and very out of character. So it depends which part of the brain it affects, what type of dementia you get, what manifestations there are of that. But there's lots of services out there. As you can see from the flyers I put here, there's a website, there's Facebook pages, there's phone numbers, you can ring people. This Daniela, she's so passionate, and she describes herself as an old woman in a young woman's body. She's about 35, but she's just amazingly wise, and she's full of energy for helping people, and she's set this up, and I'm just helping her. But I'll just tell you a few things about it. Like one woman came, we had a big conference recently, and there was a woman there called Sana. Sana was from Liverpool. When her mother got dementia, she visited her mother every second day for 4 years, and her sister visited every other day, and no recognition at all. Mum didn't know who they were, they were just there. And then someone said to her, why don't you play that music you used to play as a child for Mum, and do that little dance you used to do? So she went in and she put the music on, she did the little dance, and her mother said, Sana, where you been? You know, after 4 years, suddenly she knew who that was through the music. So music's very big. Another, Dr. Gunawardene, Puimali Gunawardene, she's a geriatrician in Penrith. She's spoke at our conference, and she told us lots of stories about one chap, he started punching the mirrors in the house because he didn't know who that was in the mirror. So they had to cover up the mirrors, and they covered up the windows, you know. And another lady patient of hers here in Penrith was putting the meat in the cupboard rather than in the fridge. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things that happen with my Kerry's, yeah, she remembers whether. But there's numbers here I've got in the folder. Mark Greenhill got me some numbers, the Mayor of the Mountains, about the incidence of dementia and where it's expected to go and where it's come from, and the numbers now, and it's growing. Because as I say, we're living longer, there'll be more dementia, and there's no cure really. There's a cure for a lot of things, but there's no real cure for dementia. There are drugs like donazepam and Dementia and things that they give you. The scientists say it's like a plaque that builds up on the brain, like plaque on your teeth and that, and the plaque builds up around the neurons in the brain, and that's associated with dementia. But you can have these drugs, they get rid of the plaque, but you still got dementia. So it's not curing the dementia, but they say it slows it down. You know, it could slow it down, make your life a little bit more bearable for a certain period, but sadly, there's no cure, and it's all downhill. But they're still the person you loved, and you know, they're still got feelings and all the rest of it, and they love their grandkids. And yeah, and I just noticed, like yesterday on the news, the big news was some chap called Tony Abbott or something became president of the Liberal Party, but the number 2 item was dementia. There was a woman there and young people get dementia, 30, 40, 50-year-olds, younger onset dementia. One woman's about 50, she's got it, and she said, I wish they told me to check my brain as often they told me to check my breasts for breast cancer and that. So it's something that we've got to be aware of. It's an increasing thing, and you probably all know someone or neighbours or family or friends who may have dementia. Sometimes you think, why did I come into this room, or where did I leave the car keys, or that sort of thing. There's just normal decline in your mental memories and that from age, but the dementia is much more severe than that. But and on Tuesday night, SBS has got a special thing about dementia about 8:30 on TV, you know. But that's about it. Thank you.